Hi there, Mac. I'm here with my 393rd Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing you a book review for Point Horror 13 Tales of Horror by 12 different authors. This is a short story collection featuring 13 point horror tales, and with 13 titles to get through, let's get cracking. First up is Collect Call by Christopher Pike, which sees some rivalry between two cheerleaders, Janice and Caroline, over Bobby Walker, the stereotypical leather jacket wearing bad boy who gifts Caroline a cassette tape with some real emo lyrics. A drunken Janice begrudgingly drives Caroline home. She loses control of the car, resulting in a fatal car accident. After which some weird kooky things take place, finishing up with a big bait and switch. And there we go. Absolutely bloody awful, this one. But a story of choice for some of the weirdest metaphors I've ever encountered. His eyes were brown. That was supposed to be a warm colour, but brown was also the colour of the hard ground. Describing her rival Caroline, any guy who wanted looks would have wanted Caroline. Her long blonde hair had the sun shining through it in a dark room. Her face was as round and sweet as apple pie and ice cream. Her clear skin knew how to hug the right curves. Her green eyes may have been silly, but they could sure dance. I look like a bookmark next to her. The road to Caroline's house went up and down, and Janice tried her best to flow with it. But her brain was riding its own seesaw. For a moment, the seesaw in Janice's alcohol-fogged brain stopped going up and down and spun in wild circles. I don't like you because you're you. If you were a flat-nosed geek that took study hall in the janitor's closet, I still wouldn't like you. What? Not the best of starts. Very underwhelming. And in this collection there is the sequel, which features right at the end of the book. But I thought I might as well read that one next, just so I can be done with it more than anything else. So part 2 is called The Black Walker, which is what the boy Bobby calls himself, and takes place a month after the events of the first story, where Bobby dates the survivor, acts like a complete and utter jackass, before dragging her into the cemetery to bury her with her dead friend. Yeah, the metaphors weren't quite so weird in that one, but it was still not particularly interesting. Moving on. Next up is Lucinda by Lel Litke, and this was a slightly more interesting one. There was a love triangle, and at graduation, Lucinda threatens to go to her secret place and is never seen alive again. A few years later, the boyfriend comes back to the lake with his sister, and a few weird things happen, and the mystery is eventually solved. It was a case of extreme reaction to a scenario, but with a nice little supernatural trope running through it. It was alright. The Guiccioli Miniature by J. Bennett, or however the hell you're supposed to pronounce that, set in Venice when a mysterious stranger sells this item to a young man over there from America for $5 or something, and the man claims this is a copy of the original, but a damn good one. The main character feels uneasy having it and throws it out the window into the water, only to read in the paper that the original has been stolen. The shortest short story in the collection, not particularly a tale of horror in any respect. I mean, he felt a little bit uneasy holding this thing, but I don't know. It was okay. I wouldn't have said it's necessarily a horror story in any way, shape or form. Next up is Blood Kiss by D.E. Afkins. Apparently, that's a pseudonym for somebody else. Deathkins, really. Blood Kiss. This one's all about vampires and these girls wanting to date this guy who they think might be a vampire, and it's exciting because he might be, but is he really? And then, I don't know, it kind of petered out and I lost interest in that one. I literally had to just flick through it to remind myself what it was about. Instantly forgettable, and yeah, whatever. A Little Taste of Death is next by Patricia Windsor. Another weird one where a girl's randomly going through a newspaper and one of the classifieds catches her eye about, did you take a lollipop 10 years ago? If so, phone this number, we'll meet up. Like, what? Anyway, she does, and she goes to this place where all these other people claim to have taken a lollipop 10 years ago, and the discussion quickly turns into a suicide pact, which she runs away from. Yeah, again, not really a horror, more of a, what the hell's going on, and why should I care? Next up is The Doll by Carol Ellis. A family move into a home, and in the attic they find a doll. And this pretty much has every single horror trope for a doll story that you can have. And literally nothing happened in it that I didn't expect to happen. It was alright. A very tried and tested story. Next up is House of Horrors by J.B. Stamper. And this follows an usher of one of these wax horror museum type places, showing guests through, describing all the gory details and everything. and the other ushers there convince him to stay behind after it shuts for a party. So at the end of the day, he hides, the doors are locked, out he comes to find that no one else is there, and he's left in this horrific place on his own in the dark, and there's something in there with him. Yeah, a reasonably creepy one, and again, not particularly surprising, but if you've ever been to the likes of Madame Tussauds and gone downstairs into the torture section, it did do a really good job of repeating that feeling in book form. Not bad. Next up are Where the Deer Are by Caroline B. Cooney. An urbanite moves out into a woodland area, and she's freaked out by deer. And rumours are that quite a few years ago now, a couple of kids went missing, and while this lot are walking to school, some weird stuff happens, and one of them is convinced that they're going to be the next one to go missing. Yeah, not bad. It did a really good job of painting the picture of someone in an environment that they're really not comfortable being in. It was alright. The Spell by R.L. Stein. One member of a group of friends learns how to be a hypnotist, and then turns evil, effectively. Not bad fare for R.L. Stein. Not a huge fan of him, but I think this one wasn't that bad. Dedicated to the One I Love by Diane Ho. Starts at the aftermath of three girls having found out that they've all been dating the same guy, but it's over now, he's out of the picture, and on the radio they hear a dedication to one of them with their song, and within 24 hours she's dead. Killed in a Final Destination style way, although this was written way before Final Destination, and certain truths come out. Quite an interesting one, that one. I've liked Diane Hoth's other point horror entries. This one didn't disappoint. Next up is Hacker by Sinclair Smith. This one is dated terribly because it's using computers. Of course, computers from 1991 are a very different kettle of fish. Hands up all those who remember using DOS. Now we follow this girl who's trying to program and hasn't a clue how to do it. She's also following an ongoing case of a serial killer called the Hacker, where people have been going missing. No one's been confirmed dead, but there's been no sign of them since. And one day after class, she thinks she's accidentally hacked into Hacker's account. She closed her eyes, she randomly typed something, and then went off to do some stuff, then came back to find a message from the serial killer on her screen. Oh no, I must have hacked into him. Again, 1991, people didn't really understand computers. This sort of crap could be thrown at a reader and it'll be, okay, I'll believe that, because I don't know what a computer is really. But nowadays, okay, so don't be ridiculous, that just no. However, it was very clear very early on who the perpetrator was. Yeah, it was alright. Not dated very well. Next up is Death Flash by A. Bates. And this one really plays on when you're lying in bed and you think there's something in the room, and as long as you don't look at it, as long as you don't move, you're going to be okay. You're going to survive until the morning. And the main character of this one, for some reason, is able to see it. It's only ever referred to as it. And she's driving out and about and she hits a cat. She stops to go and see if she can take it to the vet or anything, and she sees this thing come, and when the cat dies, extract the death flash from the dying cat and eat it. Certainly a creepy story in the collection, definitely worthy to be in a collection of horror stories, really well executed, with a decent conclusion as well. And certainly if you only read one story from this collection, Death Flash would be the one I would recommend. And finally, The Boy Next Door by Emily Emerson White. Takes place in an ice cream parlour, where we follow the girl behind the counter who's just trying to close up shop and go over to a friend's house, when a boy she once dated comes in with a gun and the intent to kill her, just to see what it's like to kill somebody. Can she talk her way out of it? And interesting, that's only the build-up to a big reveal at the end, which I did kind of see coming. But yeah, again, okay, some interesting concepts there, but it was different, I suppose. And then it finishes with part 2, which I've already covered. Those are the 13 tales. There's one really good one, a couple that were alright, a few that were indifferent, and a few that were just, don't bother. Worth reading, but not the best of collections, really. So, have you read 13 Tales of Horror, which is your favourite story out of it, if you have? Or what theme do you find the creepiest? Comment down below, please, but as usual, if you have nothing nice to say, then please give it yourself. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and other YouTube things if you want. And until next time, see you later.